Let me just ask kind of the formality of this. What is going to take place? Are you
Sure.
prepared to sort of resign before the new Trump administration? What's going to happen?
Yeah, I think what's going to happen around the country is most U.S. attorneys will resign shortly before inauguration, and then there'll be a period of time when my chief deputy, Lisa Kirkpatrick, will be the acting U.S. attorney. That'll happen in offices around the country. Takes time to get a new U.S. attorney confirmed. So I anticipate at least a chunk of 2025 will be the work that we're doing now. A lot of trials coming up because we have been bringing cases that are all now set to go to trial.
And for you, I mean, are you putting a date on when you'll do this? I mean, does it really matter?
It'll be before the inauguration. We'll settle on a specific date, but right now we're focusing on transition.
Is it sad for you to leave?
I don't look at it that way. I mean, I love this job, and I'm very grateful for the opportunity to do it twice. So I think it would be presumptuous to be sad or disappointed. When you take a job like this, you know there's very likely an end point, and so you hope for the best, and then you go with what life gives you.
And remind me, how many years, because you're Obama, back with Biden, how many total years will you have spent in this office?
Well, I was an assistant U.S. attorney in the early 90s for almost 4 years after being in New York, and then 3 years under President Obama, shortly under 3 years under President Biden. So 6 years as United States attorney with an interlude.
Yeah. Is Wetterling still the biggest case in what you've done here?
Every case is a big case. It's a really good question, Paul. The Jacob Wetterling case was the most emotional. And I teach prosecutors, and I've been taught by prosecutors, you really try to take your emotions out of the case and you try to be as objective as possible. And that's one where that failed. We all got emotionally involved, as people can, I'm sure, appreciate. So that's the one that hit me so hard emotionally, and not just because of Jacob and Patty and Jerry and the family, but also knowing that there was a chance we could break that case and wanting to, and also knowing there was a chance we might not, and really wanted, both for the Wetterling family and the state of Minnesota, to bring that to a close.
As you step aside and you know the new administration that's coming in, is there anything that keeps you up at night in this transition, and what could happen with this office?
You know, I don't look at it that way. This is a great office, and it's filled with great professionals and who go from U.S. attorney to U.S. attorney, administration to administration. I think the great work of this office will continue. My sense is, and no, I could be proven wrong, Paul, but my sense is that as a general matter, the people of Minnesota like what we're doing. I get cards and letters from people I've never met or heard of. I don't know their politics, but I think generally speaking, there's a consensus that what we're doing is the right thing, and I expect it to continue.
Would you talk broadly just about where we are, DOJ, the politicization, the weaponization of the law? Does that concern you at all, just big picture in this country?
I have lots of concerns about a lot of things that have nothing to do with my job and that I'm not going to speak about while I'm still sitting in this position. I am very confident, and I can say this with really a high level of confidence, that this office will continue to do the great work it does, and presidents come and go, administrations come and go. The professionals in this office are just going to keep doing the right thing.
I know the big debate around the country is the Biden pardon, but I suppose that you're not touching that while you still sit here in this office.
When I'm elected president and I have the pardon power, people will talk about what I do or don't do with it, but I'm not getting into that.
And obviously now I want to get into more specific cases here locally. Feeding Our Future, obviously those cases, I mean, there's no reason to think that would go off the rails when you leave.
So what will happen in 2025 is a lot of the work that we've done in the prior years is going to come to fruition with a series of trials. There'll be 2, 3, or more Feeding Our Future trials. There'll be 2, 3, or more gang trials. Those will continue into 2026. So we've got the trial teams in place, we got the leadership in place. That will go forward, and it's inconceivable to me that any new administration would change that. And I I also have a lot of confidence in the Republican leaders of this state to keep that going on track. There's no reason not to.
How disgusted were you by the, the tampering, the jury tampering that emerged in that case, in one of the cases related to?
I have to tell you, we were all so taken aback. All crime is offensive and takes away from our society to be the best we can be. But when somebody literally attacks the system, that takes it to a different level. And so we were just very focused on solving that as quickly as we can. I'm very proud of the team, the FBI and the prosecutors in my office for not letting up 1 minute, working all night for a couple of weeks to figure out who did what there. And we needed to make a strong statement, and I think we did.
It was shocking. I mean, the details and how quickly, we were able to do it through cell phone imagery.
Right.
And
Look, bribing a juror, tampering with a witness, those kinds of things just go to the heart of our system. And I believe so strongly in our system of justice, put politics aside and ideology aside. It's the best criminal justice system in the world. And somebody who wants to tamper with that should get a harsh and swift response.
Is it done? Is that like closed? Do we have all the defendants swept up in that, or could we still see further charging? Or
the investigation in that matter continues. I think we've gotten.
And I mean more the broader scheme, not necessarily. The
feeding our future.
Yeah, is that now kind of closed in that entity, the group?
I wouldn't say it's closed. I would say we have a lot of trial. You indict 70 people. You got a lot of trials coming. That doesn't mean the investigation is finished.
How important will it be to get the people at the top, the Amy Box of the world? Is that an important statement that your office wants to make, or how critical will this case be if you don't get the big players?
So I think everybody's a big player in this, frankly. Everybody that we've charged has played an important role. We're prepared for a series of trials starting in February that will go to the heart of the scheme, and I'm confident in our ability with those cases.
Let's talk the gangs. I've been doing some digging on those. How do you know the numbers, so kind of spit those out at me
Sure.
to begin the conversation.
We've charged over 90 gang members, highs, lows, bloods, 10s, and 20s. And I'm proud of the work that we did. This was a very intentional effort. We focused. We came at this with the right resources, law enforcement. Partnership with the Minneapolis Police Department has been critical and essential. One of the things that has to happen next, and my team in place right now will be doing it with law enforcement until a new U.S. attorney is in place, is figuring out where to focus all the resources going forward. We have brought a series of racketeering indictments, and we've won the first racketeering trial. And the question is, where does it go next to make sure that we in this office have the impact that this office can bring?
I know you've said it's making a difference out on the streets.
That's what I'm told. Just yesterday, I had a call with a community leader from the North Side who's very involved in crime reduction and dealing with families and has lived there his whole life. And he says it's a sea change, nowhere near enough. And there's no such thing as having finished the job. But he tells me, ever since we started charging these RICO cases and these gang cases, the difference is palpable.
Well, it feels different just in the news and what's making headlines and where our attention is. In fact, it feels like to me the bigger issue right now is the juvenile, crime issue. But I know that's not something this office touches, really, right? That's
we don't.
A state issue, yeah.
We don't have jurisdiction for the most part over juvenile crime. There are exceptions to that. Look, you can't ever pinpoint what cause and effect has happened here. I do believe that the work we've done, and like I said, I'm hearing it from both defendants and community leaders, because the defendants talk about it as well. We're making a difference.
And as you charge it as a RICO, racketeering, and kind of the organization, this doesn't have to be like a blatant, like you might see in the movie from the 1970s, like the top the top gang leader orders a hit. It doesn't have to be that one-to-one.
Right.
It does it. This is kind of in furtherance of just sort of the group
That's
enterprise. Can you explain kind of how that works?
That's exactly right, Paul. The old structure, and I saw it when I was in New York and watched our organized crime prosecutors do it. There's a real structure. Every wall was filled with the top, the middle, the lower. They had names. It still exists today in the gangs here, but in a much less structured way. And so if 4 people are involved in 3 murders and they do it on behalf of the gang, that's the basis for a RICO, and that's what we've done over and over and over again.
There's one case that your team has singled out in a couple of indictments or filings in the highs and lows war, and I've actually dug into it a little bit, the Christopher Little homicide in 2004. Do you know much about do you know why that case is so important? Can you explain it to me here, why that one gets quoted?
I'm going to let that play out more at trial, but what I'll say is in any gang war and in the development of any gang or mafia family going back to those days, there are certain incidents that trigger both the conflict and the growth of the organization, and that's one of them.
Yeah,